Hey, it's Manly Parks and welcome to another episode of the Brandywine Angler. Today, I'm going to try to make a kayak rack, something simple, inexpensive, quick to put together, that'll be reasonably sturdy and be better than having my kayaks leaned up against the fence over there. Let's see if we can pull it off. All right, so I have two heavier duty fishing kayaks, both about 13 feet long. I have a canoe and I have a 14-foot touring kayak. So I just need a rack that can hold 4 boats. Since I only need 2 levels of racks, I think I can go with a 4-foot high rack, which should leave plenty of room to keep the first level rack up off the ground and still have plenty of space between first level rack and the second level rack to fit the boats in. I measured the depth of the boats first, and they're about 12 inches deep. And I'm thinking something in the order of 20 to 24 inches for the space. And then my canoe's probably a little deeper than that, but that's okay because I'm gonna put it on the top. And if that's the case, I can take an 8-foot 4x4 and go ahead and mark it off at the halfway point, 4 feet, and cut it at 4, and I'll get both uprights for the rack out of a single 4x4. These ends aren't perfect, but that's okay because I'm going to put a little brass cap on them to help them weather better, and I'll use the clean factory ends to be what faces down. Next, I'm going to just take my drill. I've got a bit in here that's about the width of my 3-inch decking screws. Just going to drill through here real quick and get a couple of pilot holes for the screws. Next, I'm just going to carry these pilot holes through just a little bit, and then I can go ahead and drill a little deeper. I should now be able to put a screw in there pretty easily. Easy as can be. We're going to create some braces, but for now, the bottom piece and the 2x4 are sort of connected together so that we can work with them a little bit. It makes it a little easier. We're just going to do that same thing for the other side. So now we have our 2 pieces. They're going to sit about like that. And now we just have to connect them and build our rack pieces and stabilize them a little bit. So you can see here, I've just taken a piece of scrap 2x4 and I've just cut a little 45-degree angle piece to serve as a brace right here to help hold the upright 4x4 in place. I'm just gonna go ahead and screw this with a screw up through there that way, from the bottom up, and a screw down in that way to the side. These are 2.5-inch screws. I'll go ahead and screw up from underneath once I have these in place. Okay, so those are good. I'm gonna drill it from the bottom because I want to make sure that the screw gets totally encased in the block. Should work, let's see. Perfect. Same thing for the other. One thing is, you'll see I put a little X to mark the middle of the bottom of the board. That helps me locate where I'm going to be putting the screws. And I can always check the depth by looking at it this way and make sure that it's in a spot where it's going to, the brace is going to cover it the whole way. There we go. Now that's screwed and braced. Time to do the other one, just like we did the first. I've just laid out the two upright pieces that we've just created about 4 feet apart. And then what we're gonna do is take another one of our greenwood 1x6s and we're going to put it in place as a cross brace on one side, like that. Get it generally marked, get it cut, and then just screw it right in place. Just tacking that to hold it in place so I can measure the other side. Now we're just going to make these cuts. I've tacked it back off again. Next, I'm going to put a level on it to just get a sense of how upright it is before I nail it off. So I'm going to do that. Then I'm going to go ahead and complete these through holes. This is just drilled through the 1x6, but I'm going to take the drill bit and go ahead and drill it all the way through. And then I'm going to put a screw in each one of those. And then we'll level up the other side and do it there. All right, so status check. At this point, this is what we have. We have our braces on the ground with our 45-degree angle cut chocks to help hold up the 4x4s. Now we got a cross brace in place. We're gonna do a mirror image cross brace going that way on the back side, just the exact same way we did this cross brace. Check the width of my boats, and all of them came in at comfortably under 36 inches wide. The closest to 36 was my Canoe, which was about 34.5. So I'm going to put 36-inch arms coming off of our stand so that I have enough room for any of my boats on any of my racks. So what I've done is I've taken our cross pieces, which are going to be these greenwood 2x4s, and I've measured them out at 6 feet and 4 inches, which gives me the 4-inch width plus a little bit for the 4x4 that's in the middle. So now we're just going to cut them at those marks. I'm going to go ahead and mark the center as well so that I have a good sense of where it needs to be when I'm putting them in place. The center is going to be 36 plus 2. All right, so I've kind of got this in place. You can see I've got the marks on the board. I've got them sort of lined up so I know I've got an equal distance of rack on either side. I've also included a little wedge of a little offcut of 2x4 that helps me make sure it's kind of level as against the rack itself. And then I think I can just go ahead and lock it down in place with some screws or nails. So first I'm going to tack it with my hammer to hold it in place. That's just a regular old 3-inch nail. And then I'm going to drill holes and use 3-inch screws to go ahead and make sure that I've got a really nice tight connection there all the way around. All right. We're in. Now we just do the same thing for the other side. So I measured 32 inches from the top of the deck piece here up and made a mark here, and then made that the top of my next cross piece. Did the same thing on the other side, and just like we did last time, I just put a nail to tack it in place. Nailed that nail in place, and now I'm going to make sure it's leveled off and go ahead and put a couple screws in it just like I did down here. Okay, so we have our basic rack in place now with just a very few cuts and a little bit of work. These cross beams need to be shored up a little bit though. They're not as stable as I need them to be. Now for the bottom piece, part of the reason I chalked it when I set it with a 2x4 is that way I can just fit, I know a 2x4 fits perfectly in there, and I can just put a little chalk piece of 2x4 right there and at width, and it'll just sit right on it on both ends. And that'll help stabilize these pieces against the bottom braces. Now for this top piece, I'm gonna have to do something different. I think the solution is that we make a brace piece that comes down and connects and holds this up and comes down like this in a 45-degree angle. That'll help give that some stability. So we'll cut those braces and we will cut these little bottom chocks, and then we should be basically done. For these bottom chocks, we're just gonna use the offcuts from our 2x4 greenwood. In order to come up with a brace, I had these offcut pieces from our cross brace pieces, and what I decided to do was just cut them to an equal size. Then I will put them together back to back like that. I'm gonna start by pre-nailing them so that all I have to do is go ahead and complete the nailing once I get going. It should stay in place pretty well. And then I'll go ahead and figure out where exactly I want that so that I have room for the other one, right about there, and then go ahead and nail it. Now I'm going to do the other side. Same way. That brace is much more stable now. Okay, we've got our sort of assistance braces in place. They're helping keep our cross pieces rock solid. So really what we have to do now is secure our little chocks on the bottom. To do that, we're gonna have to turn this upside down and drill and screw in from the bottom for those. And then we'll be pretty well ready to go. Okay, we're all done. I think it's gonna work really well. I'm gonna go put some boats on it so we'll at least determine if it does. But right now, I think it's a design that's gonna be effective, serve our purposes, and it was certainly quick and easy to build. So I'm gonna put it in place, put some boats on it, and see how it looks. Well, there you have it. 4 kayaks, 2 big fishing kayaks on the bottom, a touring kayak, and a canoe on the top. 4 boats on this rack. Looks like it works fine. It loaded fine. Didn't even begin to try to tip over when I put the first boat on. Plenty of distance in between the boats. Comfortable distance to be able to get them under there. I think these dimensions work really nicely for these boats that I'm working with. You may want to check your boats to see what your dimensions will be. Hopefully this was helpful. I certainly enjoyed it, and I'm sure that I'm going to have a happy spouse now that the boats are not leaning up against the fence. I'll probably also have a happier neighbor. Well, as always, thanks for watching. It's the Brandywine Angler Manly Parks. We'll catch you next time.